Wilkins drops back in the pocket, lobs it up for N'Keal Harry. He leaps, makes the catch, dives into the end zone. Touchdown, Arizona State.
Manny from the 2 fakes the handoff, jumps over a defender into the end zone with the point. Wilkins.
The kick is up, and it is good. Down goes Michigan State, 16-13.
Hey, welcome into the 7th edition of The House alongside Blaine McCormick. I'm Austin Burnett. Blaine, the Sun Devils came away empty-handed this weekend, but there were plenty of highlights.
Like you mentioned, Austin, like the city of Boulder, there were plenty of mile-high lights. Let's get to them.
Sparky and the Sun Devils going to the base of the Rocky Mountains in Boulder, Colorado with one of the best college football traditions. Run, Ralphie, run! And these guys, they used to wear cowboy boots back in the old days, but now they can wear football cleats. Well, enough about tradition. Let's get to football. Here's Eno Benjamin getting some altitude and into the end zone. 7-0 Arizona State early. And then Laviska Shenault, normally a wide receiver, takes the direct snap and into the end zone for the answer back. 7 apiece. Sparky for president. Well, he may consider having Eno Benjamin as a running mate. Another touchdown for Eno. Look at this one. Shifts to the right and then just cuts the other direction into the end zone. 14-7 Arizona State at this point, and the crowd is loving it. Some Sparky Sun Devil fans able to travel up to Boulder, but Buffs quarterback Steven Montez, he's got a cannon for an arm. Slings this one over to Jay McIntyre, the coach's son, for the first down. And that sets up another touchdown for the Buffaloes. And who else but Laviska Shenault gets the short pass and into the end zone for the touchdown. Tied up at 14. Here comes Ralphie. No. Here comes Darby. Frank Darby, a wide receiver for the Sun Devils, has been impressive in a couple of games, especially against San Diego State, and shows off the athleticism. Beating double coverage and into the end zone for the touchdown. An incredible throw, first of all, from Wilkins, but an even better catch by Darby. A 40-yard passing touchdown. Make sure you look out for him later on this season. 21-14, but Steven Montez answers right back. A long pass to Laviska Shenault for the touchdown once again. 21-14. And then Montez, well, he's just been on a roll during this game. Long pass over to KD Nixon, comes down with it and tackled at the 1-yard line. Probably the biggest play of the day, and then Shenault finishes it off with the direct snap touchdown. 4 total touchdowns for Shenault. He accounted for all of their points, and the Buffaloes stay undefeated as they win 28-21 over ASU.
Well, plenty of highlights from the Rocky Mountains, and to recap it all, we're going to bring in Scotty Gange, one of our analysts for HouseOfSparky.com, and there was a point in the game when N'Keal Harry was returning a punt, and he took a pretty big shot, and it created a lot of controversy around social media. What more can you tell us from that?
Yeah, Blaine, you knocked it on the head right there. One of the most controversial and confusing, really whatever adjective you want to use for that play of the season so far. So we're going to get it up on the screen once in a second. It's a 21-21 ball game. I'll set the scene for you. About 9 minutes left in the third quarter. ASU had a big stop. Sun Devils are in control. N'Keal Harry, great return, getting to the outside like we love to see him do,
right,
making a stiff arm, and out of nowhere, you're going to see at the top, that's Drew Lewis. Decleats him, and we'll show it again, and we're going to stop it just about right there. You see Drew Lewis coming in from out of bounds,
right,
and turns around to knock N'Keal Harry. He actually missed the remainder of the game, and you can see in this angle right here, N'Keal had no idea he was coming until the final second when he had no chance to really make a movement. He did not return. Sun Devil fans are very angry. This is just one thread on our HouseOfSparky.com comments. They're saying things like, what a joke, this is ridiculous, a couple expletives we can't talk about on the show. But Pac-12 Network came out showing a spotlight from up top. You can see Drew Lewis, he's pushed out of bounds, goes around his bench, and comes back in about 25 yards later. Now, according to Rulebook 3 in the NCAA rules, Section 6, Article 12, a player cannot go out of bounds and then come back in and be a part of the play. But the sole exception, which was for Drew Lewis, is that he was blocked out of bounds by Arizona State and then came back on with the exception of you have to come back immediately. Now, coming back about 25, 30 yards, I don't know if that was immediately, whether you're watching it as an Arizona State fan, Colorado fan, or just somebody watching football. You have your take. But for me, seeing him get pushed out of bounds on around the ASU 40, come back on around the Colorado 38, it doesn't look like it was immediate for him to come back out there. And it was, unfortunately for Arizona State, a turning point in the game.
It's a big turning point in the game. N'Keal Harry, definitely the biggest playmaker for the Sun Devils. And we had some news earlier this week on Tuesday. Both Sun Devils source and Doug Haller with The Athletic broke that linebacker Karan Crump will be leaving the Sun Devil program to get ready for Pro Day. What can you tell us about Karan Crump? What does he bring to this program? And really, how big of a loss is it for the Sun Devils? I know he was injured last season, but 2 seasons ago, he led the team in sacks.
Yeah, he led the team in sacks. He was 3rd in the Pac-12 2 seasons ago, 2nd team all Pac-12 defense. And so it's hard to say now what the Sun Devils are losing just because he's been out with an ACL tear that happened early last year. But losing a guy like him, he's a leader. He's been around the program for a long time. And as you said, he's going to get ready for his pro day, which is good for him. But ultimately, it's not very good for the Sun Devils.
So maybe not the best move for the team. But, you know, there's a lot of bright spots with this team, too, especially at the linebacker position. I look at Merlin Robertson, even Malik Lawal. Do you think they can recover from this?
I definitely think they can recover. And just speaking on the 2 younger guys, Merlin Robertson, Darian Butler, they have showed out this year. Merlin Robertson's got to be probably the defensive MVP so far this year. Darian Butler has a great future ahead of him. I think they can bounce back. It's a bump in the road, but they'll be able to.
Scotty, thanks so much for coming on. Always love your instant analysis and quite the confusing play, but glad we got it all narrowed down with you.
All right, thank you, Blaine.
Coming into the season, most if not everyone thought that junior standout wide receiver N'Keal Harry would be the center of attention for this receiving corps. And why wouldn't you? Harry was selected to the AP preseason All-American second team and has been their leading receiver over the past 2 years. But over the past few games, sophomore receiver Frank Darby has emerged as Wilkins' go-to receiver. From only catching 9 passes a year ago to averaging 25.2 yards per catch this season, which also leads the nation. Darby had a career-high 131 receiving yards and just 3 catches against Colorado, and one of which went for 72 yards. So while opponents have been double-teaming N'Keal Harry, Frank Darby has emerged as one of the most dynamic receivers for this ASU offense, and is why Frank Darby has been one of the most dominant players in this receiving corps. Well, we sure can't get enough of Frank Darby, but let's get into our next segment of Pick Your Poster. As you're going to see right here on the monitor, Sparky for Prez. Good poster, very large poster. This guy right here from Colorado has a Colorado sweatshirt on. He's just not having it.
No, I don't think he likes this because it is a little big, like you said, maybe blocks the view of the game a little bit for him, but I do like how this poster came out. Paint the White House maroon and gold. That's Sparky's motivation. We're going to move on to our next poster, and Austin, it might not be specifically a poster, but I love the creativity from the CU fans. And I think you know where I'm going with this. L-A-V, maybe an I, S-K-A. Laviska Shenault, remember thy name, because he was just a demon to the Sun Devil defense, and quite the performance from him, but also quite creative from CU.
Yeah, I will say that too. I mean, I'm sure that is an I right there, but I just wonder how long it took to make all these costumes. I mean, you got all those bananas. Maybe they just picked them up at a costume store or something like that.
Or Gwen Stefani's house. You never know.
Yeah.
That'll do it for Pick Your Poster. Now let's recap some games from around the Conference of Champions as we look around the Pac-12. Both institutions from the Evergreen State came out with W's. Washington escaped Pasadena with a 31-24 win over UCLA, and then Wazoo trounced Oregon State in a scoring battle of 56-37. But Austin, a little bit of havoc from the Pac-12 South.
Yeah, both these programs look very good this year. Hey, I mean, how about the Pac-12 South? Showering some power. Arizona getting the 24-17 win over the Cal Golden Bears, and 2 pick sixes from the Wildcats defense. Watch out for the shaking defense. Utah, I mean, they hold on against number 14 Stanford. Only 42 rushing yards in the 40-21 win for the Utes. That game knocked out Stanford from the top 25 ahead of their bye week. We at House of Sparky partner with Blaze Radio, Arizona State student radio station, for the Blaze Radio Call of the Game. Listen to our guy Blaine as he takes you through Manny Wilkins' electrifying 40-yard touchdown pass to Frank Darby.
From the pistol formation, here's Wilkins, gets the snap, fakes the handoff to Benjamin, looks downfield, a long throw going downfield towards the end zone, and that is going to be caught for a touchdown, Arizona State. Amazing catch that time from the Sun Devils. And who else on the play but Frank Darby? Sun Devils take the 20-14 lead. Evan Worthington and Dante Wigley was on the coverage, but an impressive leaping effort from Frank Darby, who was isolated in the first half of this game and now comes up with a big touchdown for Arizona State.
Well, it was a heck of a catch by Frank Darby, but it was also a heck of a call by you, my man.
Thank you, Austin. Appreciate that. Yeah, it was fun because that changed the momentum of the game at that point. The Sun Devils took the lead at 21-14, and everyone just went nuts when that catch happened. So fun at Folsom Field.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go into our next segment of pros and cons. I'm going to start it off with the cons. You know, Manny Wilkins and N'Keal Harry, they haven't really found that connection that inside the red zone over the past few games. The last time that they did connect was in Week 3 against San Diego State with 1:40 left to go in the fourth quarter. But, you know, that connection between Manny Wilkins and N'Keal Harry, I think they need to reestablish that in order to get back on the winning track side of things.
There's a lot of chemistry issues. I wouldn't say chemistry issues, but just not finding him, because N'Keal, well, he's going to be in double coverage a lot, especially because everyone knows he's the best player on the team. But for Eno Benjamin, he's really emerging as a close second because he already had the record-breaking game against Oregon State, topping it with another great performance against the Buffaloes with over 100 yards on the ground and also 2 touchdowns. So when you don't have N'Keal, you have Eno, and Arizona State kind of working over to the running game a lot more. Coach Herm Edwards has said that a lot in his press conferences and has really emphasized the run, and it showed.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Eno Benjamin, he really has broken onto the scene here for this Sun Devil team as a true running back. But one thing that the Sun Devils haven't done, or at least in this last game, was their secondary. Their secondary didn't perform too well. You know, they allowed 328 total yards, or passing yards rather, to Steven Montez, and you know, they allowed 4 total touchdowns, 2 receiving to Laviska Shenault, the sophomore wide receiver for Colorado. So really was not a good performance by the ASU secondary.
And I mean, Laviska is very talented. You always have to look at him whenever you're watching the Buffaloes. But one thing I do want to say, they have the bye week. The Sun Devils, I mean. They have the bye week to rest, recover, go back to the drawing board, look at the schematics, look at what went wrong during the Buffaloes game, what they need to clean up a little bit. You mentioned the secondary. Danny Gonzalez, the defensive coordinator, will definitely be on them for a lot of their schemes and stuff. So when they go back to the bye week, they just are going to take it easy and make sure to get back to basics.
Yeah, and you mentioned the bye week, but you better watch out because Stanford, they also have a bye week, and they're also going to have the same amount of time to prepare for this Sun Devil team heading into Thursday, October 18th. That will be a very highly talented matchup between the Sun Devils and the Stanford Cardinal. But yeah, again, you know, it's going to be a bye week for both teams, so a lot of preparation is going to be going in for both these teams.
Yeah, Stanford definitely a talented team overall. They were in the AP top 25 for a majority of this season. Well, Utah knocked them out of that with the win in last week's contest. But one thing I do want to emphasize, you talked about Manny and N'Keal not having that connection, but Manny and Frank Darby definitely having solid chemistry on the gridiron. They have just been so impressive, and it's been showing especially against Colorado. Not only the 40-yard touchdown, but also the 72-yard pass to Frank Darby. They have really emerged as another weapon. And with Frank, he's a deep ball passer. You throw it up there, he's going to come down with it. Really, really good hands. And, well, we showed the clip earlier. Why don't we just show it again just for old time's sake? Well, we've already looked at the ups and downs of Sun Devil football in the present, but we bring on Julian Pottas to talk about the future of what this team might have brewing for them later on. So especially against the Stanford Cardinal, this is a talented team coming into Tempe. KJ Costello, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, also right. Bryce Love, you may have heard of him. How do you see this one playing out? Because Stanford just lost to Utah. Can they lose a second in a row?
That's right. You mentioned Stanford's Costello and Bryce Love, and those guys are definitely centerpieces around Stanford's total plan as a team. You know, they're the ones that are executing on the offensive end. They're getting those yards. They're executing on every snap that the team is going through. And if I'm Arizona State, I'm looking at that defensively, and I'm saying, okay, I got to watch out for those two guys, because if I don't, they're going to break down the system and they're going to manipulate us on the defensive end. So. And also, Stanford has been really good. I mean, they're not ranked, but they're 4-2, they're 3-1 at home, and they're going to stand their ground at their home field. That's another thing that they have to keep in mind moving forward.
And it doesn't get any easier after Stanford. Arizona State going up against Oregon on the road. They have UCLA and also Utah coming to Sun Devil Stadium, though. How do you see the rest of the season playing out, and what is your final record prediction?
My final record prediction is I can't say right now, but I definitely see them going at least 500.
Okay, that's fair.
And with these next 4 games, I think they have to win them. So that's against Utah, that's against USC, Stanford, that's against UCLA. All of those teams, I think that that ASU has the squad and the potential to be able to get those wins on the road and at home, because if they don't, then that just shows that the program is still going through some streaky strides, and they still have to learn from the mistakes that they haven't learned from years past. But I do see that they have shown their moments where they have been able to execute, they have been able to go through and topple most of these opponents. It's just a matter of those late game situations where they have to take them by the helm and just finish it strong.
We've seen a lot of college football programs that have gotten new coaches this year kind of struggle, especially with Arizona and even UCLA with Chip Kelly.
That's
but
right.
Herm Edwards has really had a lot of success out of the group of coaches that have come new to the program. What can fans expect overall at the end of the season? And also I want to touch on the Territorial Cup. What can fans expect when the season is all said and done?
You know, I think that just looking at the squad, I think that the Sun Devils have really been able to learn from Herm Edwards, because he's been in the NFL, he's been a head coach, he was an analyst for NFL Network, so he knows about the game. He's been able to see it front and back and just analyze every single point about what it is about football. And in return, these guys have been able to just take a front row seat and learn from him, be able to become better. I think that Manny Wilkins has made huge strides as a quarterback. You know, he's very on top of his game, and he's really hard on himself to become better and improve as a quarterback. Benjamin has flourished in his system, which I think is incredible. Also, Chase Lucas, a lot of the guys on the defensive end have been awesome. You know, they've been reliable. They've been able to come out every single game and just like set the ground, because they know that Herm Edwards is expecting nothing but the best from them. And I think that's a win for ASU and the program.
You play to win the game. That's what Herm Edwards always says.
Exactly.
Right? Well, thanks so much, Julian, for cheering up our spirits a little bit. We're going to get even more positivity on this show as we transition to our feel-good story of the week with Austin.
One of the most underappreciated elements of the game of football is special teams. And some of those most underappreciated positions on the field is the kicker. And for Arizona State, that position is filled by Brandon Reese. Reese was committed to Alabama in June of 2016 and then flipped his commitment to Arizona State. The 3-star recruit out of Williamsfield High School in Gilbert, Arizona, decided to play his college ball in his home state. Reese went 19 of 27 on field goals and 49 of 50 on PATs his freshman year, and has made great improvements to his game in 2018. Reese is a solid 6 for 7 on field goal attempts and is a perfect 23 of 23 on extra points. And he also won Pac-12 Special Teams Player of the Week for his game-winning kick against number 15 Michigan State. And even though it may seem as though Reese does very little on the field in terms of just kicking, the little things he does on a consistent basis is what makes it look so easy. And it's why Brandon Reese is our feel-good story of the week. We're going to get right into our Pac-12 top plays of the week with Manny Wilkins dropping back, then dropping a dime to Frank Darby. It's so nice. We're going to show it to you again. Manny Wilkins from the Colorado logo, dropping it deep in between double coverage to the one and only Mr. Frank Darby.
Such an impressive wide receiver. Here's Tyler Huntley for Utah, the slip and sling over to his wide receiver, Samson Nakua, and into the end zone. Touchdown for Utah. This dual threat quarterback like we talked about before with Tyler Huntley. Check this out one more time. Drops back, slips away from the defender, and a long pass. Utah upsets the Cardinal.
From one mobile quarterback to another, UCLA's QB Dorian Thompson-Robinson drops back, and it's tipped, and it is picked off by Washington's safety Taylor Rapp. Huskies edge out the Bruins 31-24. First win for Washington at the Rose Bowl since 1995. Well, Blaine, a lot of good stuff this weekend. A very good showing from Frank Darby this past weekend.
I think as the weeks go on, you just see him blossom as a wide receiver, and also our Pac-12 top plays, they just get better and better every week.
I would agree.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of The House. Thank you so much for joining us. For more coverage about Arizona State football, make sure to tune in to houseofsparky.com. He's Austin Burnett. I'm Blaine McCormick for our producer, Noah Lau. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.